going on, everybody? My name is James, aka Suburban. Today I want to show you how to make your drums knock like a pro. I'm going to be using Ableton just because that's what I've been using, that's what I'm familiar with, but I know that there are similar ways you can do this, I think with Fruity Limiter in FL Studio, and we'll go through exactly how I put this together and how you can do it yourself. So I'll play a bit of the track here so you can hear exactly the style that I'm trying to replicate. I think this track kind of employs it quite well, and we'll go through and break it down after that. So let's hear what we're going to try to achieve. Pretty simple beat overall. It's something that I threw together pretty quick, but I think I got those drums tuned in pretty well for this track, and I think this is a good way to break this down for you. So the first and most important thing, I think, is sound selection, because you need to have two, like a kick drum and an 808 that work well together. So here, this is my kick drum. Let me play it here so you can hear what it should kind of sound like. It doesn't have to be exactly like this, but basically something short with a decent amount of low end and not a ton of high transients or high pitched frequencies. So here it's kind of a more muffled kick, and that's kind of important because the higher the frequencies and everything like that, the more distorted it's going to sound. We want more of that low end punch. So you can hear, again, short, and this kick, and I think this 808 too, can be found in that TM88 Nightmare drum kit that is available all over the internet. So it's free, you can just grab it anywhere. The 808 is kind of the reverse in that it is a lot less punchy. It's more of like a soft 808 because the kick is going to do most of the punching, but the 808 has a decent amount of bass to it. It's got a nice kind of long tail, and it's not one of those 808s where like it starts out loud and then it gets quiet really quickly. It kind of maintains its volume throughout most of its life, I guess. If I look at like the waveform, you can kind of see it. Just, it's a nice little trail. So if you listen to just the 808, you can hear kind of the sound that I'm using here. Again, not a lot of high frequencies, but a good low end, and that's going to really match well with our kick. Now together, here's what they sound like. So there's a few key things that are also important for making this sound right. If you look at the levels all the way on the right, you'll notice that the kick is going a little bit over the 0 decibel line, so it's technically clipping, but the 808's pretty far below, and that kind of matches out. But the reason I have that kick going a little bit over is so that on the master track I have a saturator, and the saturator is set to digital clip and the output's set to -1. That's just to avoid those artifacts that you get on SoundCloud. If you bring the level of your track down just a little bit, SoundCloud won't give you all those noisy, nasty, like hi-hat artifacts and everything like that. So another tip for you there. So I have it set to digital clip, and that's kind of the most minor way of adding a little bit of distortion and catching clipping without really oversaturating your track. And I'll show you exactly what I mean in a second here. But so what's going to happen is this kick is going to go a little bit over that 0 line and start to clip. It's going to set the saturator all of a sudden start clipping, and the 808 is then going to get a little bit distorted. But the way that the digital clip is going to handle that is in a very, I guess, fair manner, in that my melody and all my percussions and hi-hats are not going to get overly crunched because of that. And I'll play the other options in the clipper, and you'll hear exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of these other ones are really going to just destroy your track, but digital clip does a very good way of keeping that tamed. So let me play this whole track here, and we can kind of see what these different modes sound like. So this is it normally. And now let me play it with something like the medium curve. So this is kind of how you'd normally use a saturator, but again, it's going to be way too harsh for a track like this. you can hear it's just really blowing it out. Even I think analog clip will start to do that. It's not too bad, but again, it's just analog clip kind of dips a little bit too much into the low end, and it's going to start to just use your bass as a distortion source, I guess, and that's not really what we want. We just want that punch to be exactly what's happening, and the digital clip starts right about there in the frequency spectrum, and so that's where our kick kind of lays in the mix, and that's why it's able to not distort too much on the bass, but a lot on the kick. And you can kind of hear that alone, these two sound like they're probably too loud or something like that. If I play them alone, again, they're just gonna be wickedly punchy, but in the mix, everything kind of balances out well. So like, and that's kind of the overall gist of this. Is I could have used like compression and things to compress the melody and the percussion and the hi-hats when the kick is coming in or the 808's playing, but I found that that creates too much of like a bumping style that's usually found in EDM, and that's not usually found in like hip hop. So this method of just kind of using a little bit of distortion and catching it at the end instead of preemptively lowering the volume of everything else, again, while it is sometimes maybe frowned upon, I think that it's just kind of the standard sound of hip hop, and so I think that this is a very easy way to achieve that. And again, this can be achieved in FL Studio with just the FL limiter. I'm using the saturator in Ableton, and I'm sure there's a way to probably do it in Logic and everything else, but that's the way I do it. I think the sound is really good out of it. Again, that TM88 Nightmare drum kit is available all over the internet, so you can find these sounds. There's a lot of clean kicks and 808s in there too that I use a decent amount, so definitely check that out. It's not my own kit, but somebody's, so you can probably find that. But that's really about it. Again, it's a very simple tip, but I think it's very useful, and hopefully you guys can use it in your track. If you guys have any questions, as always, leave them down below. If you guys want to see more tips like this, don't forget to subscribe, and if this helped you out, hit that like button so I know. But that's going to be it for me today. I hope you guys are ready for the next few videos. They should be coming out pretty soon, and I'm going to have some pretty interesting topics lined up for those. So stay tuned for those. That's going to be it for me today. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.